And joining us now to talk about that and more is Illinois Congressman Krishnamoorthi.
Good evening, Congressman. Let's start with this package and the possible vote tomorrow. What might that look like?
Well, I think that, as you alluded, the Paycheck Protection Program, which was designed to help small businesses, is fast running out of money. Almost $100 billion has been spent. And so I think there's a general belief that we should increase the amount of money available to small businesses. As a former small business person myself in the last Great Recession, I felt that the federal government neglected small businesses. And so this time my office had a hand in shaping this program. And so now we have to make sure it's available to everybody who needs it so that people can stay employed and these businesses don't run out of money.
Should the money have come, rather than going through these lenders, maybe through the Treasury Department directly, could that have eliminated some problems?
I and others advocated for direct lending by the government. In this particular case, it was decided that we would use the existing lending institution structure. That being said, unfortunately, it's gotten off to a little bit of a bumpy start. And so now we just have to work together and basically fix what needs to be fixed and speed the money along to small businesses ASAP this week.
What are you hearing from your constituents, Congressman? What are their challenges with this?
There are a couple of problems. One is that the Treasury Department and the Small Business Administration and the Trump administration just weren't ready with regard to processing loans when they were applied for last Friday. In fact, they not only were not ready, they changed the rules under which the banks would administer the loans just hours before they had to do so. Secondly, banks, unfortunately, in some cases, have prioritized existing customers over new ones. But that was never the intent of the law. Rather, all comers should be served, and nobody should be discriminated against. And that's something that I very, very strongly believe in, and something that we have to clarify and fix with regard to any further provision of funds.
Does this confusion, you think, have anything to do with the president firing his watchdog for COVID-19 stimulus, Glenn Fine?
I think the president doesn't like accountability, Micah. He has fired 2 inspectors general in a matter of 3 days. He installed his own personal attorney with respect to another position for the CARES Act. But here's the deal. This is not the president's money, it's the taxpayers' money. And the taxpayers get to decide how that money is spent. And it needs to be spent in the national interest, not in Donald Trump's or his administration's personal or political interests.
We keep hearing, Congressman, that the only way really to get ahead of this is with testing. And I know Abbott Labs has done an amazing job. We're talking about 50,000 possible tests a day. When do you think we'll be at the point where we'll have enough tests to really get ahead of this?
I think we'll only get there if we really invoke the Defense Production Act. This is the law that enables the federal government to basically enable private industry to do what is in the national interest in times of emergency. That means allowing the federal government to come together to purchase on behalf of all states and local governments, to buy in bulk at a low price, and to make sure that there are enough supplies of certain gear, such as personal protective equipment or, in this case, testing equipment. And that hasn't happened. Until it does, we're always going to be wondering if we have enough. Right now, we know we don't. And we can't be in a position where we can't test more than just a small number of the people who need to be tested. We need to get to a model where we can test widely so that we know who has it, who needs to be treated, and then who else needs to be kept away from them so that we can stop and kill this virus.
There's a lot going on, confusion in a lot of different areas. The people that you're talking to, do they feel confident in the way the country's being run amid this pandemic right now?
I think they're losing confidence. They think that perhaps certain decision-making in the White House is not dictated by facts and science, but potentially by politics and other considerations. And here's the deal, which is that this virus knows no partisan bounds. It knows no geographic or ethnic or economic boundaries. It's decimating everybody. All communities are really being hurt. and our economy is also collapsing around us. That's one thing that, unfortunately, we're hearing a lot about. Businesses don't know if they're going to meet payroll next week. I was in a conversation with a businessman who was very, very upset that he didn't know if he could keep his workers on payroll next week. And then, of course, families don't know where their future paychecks are coming from. And everybody is a little discouraged by the leadership in the White House right now.
We're up against the clock here, Congressman, but quickly, one thing that's been hard to decipher, I think, as we look at this response is the debate between the role of states and the federal government. Do you think anything will change on that moving forward?
Well, unfortunately, because of a lack of leadership from the White House, states and local governments have had to step up and lead. Thankfully, we live here in Illinois, I think, where Governor Pritzker and Lori Lightfoot and others have done a very good job of basically putting in place what needs to be put in place so that we can stop and kill the virus and then move forward. Unfortunately, that hasn't been done everywhere, and it should be, because what happens even in other states will affect Illinois, and therefore we're going to have to take more of a leadership role in Congress, too.
All right, Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, folks.